So we're going to dig right into this. We're going to do 10 steps to product market fit, an unstoppable founder's guide. That's my promise for you today. We're going to be digging into 10 things that I learned, 10 things that you absolutely must do to navigate this Shawshank Crawl to product market fit. So that's what we're going to be going into. All the principles that I'll be sharing with you over here come from 15 years of experience as a founder, venture-backed CEO, and senior executive across multiple SaaS businesses. I was on a client call the other day and they were like, there's no way you have 15 years of experience. And I'm like, sadly, I do. I'm 37 years old. My first SaaS business was in college. We sold it as we were graduating college, and that was 15 years ago. So that's a thing. So settle in and stick around. If you are a B2B SaaS founder, if you've got an initial product built and are looking to scale revenues, then you should definitely stick around. And if you're not allergic to sales and marketing, then you should stick around. This webinar is not for you. I don't want to waste anyone's time. This is not for you if you want to stay stuck in what I call the one more feature trap. The one more feature trap is where you want to keep building one more feature, one more feature, one more feature, and not actually go spin up sales and marketing, actually go engage in sales conversations to figure out if someone wants this amazing thing that you're building. If your startup is just a hobby, you don't want to turn it into a real business, can't help you. You don't need to get your product market fit. If you're still thinking about starting a business, but actually haven't taken the leap yet, you might not get a lot of value in this one. And lastly, I am a startup coach. So after 45 minutes of my most impactful training, if I make you an offer to work with me in a deeper way, if you get annoyed by that kind of thing, I don't want to annoy anyone, you should leave right now. Now, for those of you that are here and you're in the right place, bonuses for staying till the end. I will do a Q&A session that's live. I'll send you a copy of my slides. And also I have a book coming out, Ship Code Close Deals. I'll send you a copy of that book once it launches. So if you stick around. All right. And in case you're wondering, if you're new to the Unstoppable community, if you're like, hey, who's this TK guy? Why is he credible in doing any of this? I've been in SaaS for nearly 15 years. I started my first SaaS business when I was in college. It was called HipCal. It was an online calendaring company. It was in college. I actually was supposed to go to GE Water and Process Technologies for my internship. And I called them the day before I was supposed to show up in Bensalem, Pennsylvania. And I told them, I'm not going. I'm starting a company instead. And I started HipCal with a few of my college buddies, my fraternity brothers. We ended up building it out and we sold it to a company called Plaxo, which was also a SaaS business. After Plaxo, I got recruited into Bridgewater. It's one of the best hedge funds in the world. If you've read Ray Dalio's book, Principles, you read about these baseball cards. I built the first version of baseball cards while I was at Bridgewater. So it was an incredible experience. Then I quit and started another SaaS business called ToutApp. It was in sales engagement software. It was backed by recent Horowitz. We scaled it to about 7 million ARR. We sold it to a company called Marketo. Marketo was then backed by Vista, one of the best PE firms. I joined the executive team as VP of strategy. We did a 2-year transformation. During those 2 years, I did a stint running Europe. I did a stint running Australia. I then ran strategy for the company. We did M&A, and then we sold it to Adobe for $4.75 billion. Now I run this thing called Unstoppable. Unstoppable it's essentially a management consulting firm, a coaching firm, and we help founders like you navigate the path to the next stage of growth. That's what we do. We help you build incredible SaaS businesses. So with that said, that's who I am. That's my quick background. Hopefully that helps set the stage. Now we're going to dig right into the 10 steps to product market fit. So feel free to take a snapshot of this. These are the 10 steps. I'm going to go through them one at a time. I promised you that this wouldn't be the obvious stuff. So hopefully I deliver on that value. I'm not going to read through each of these. You can kind of look through it, but I'm going to go through them one at a time. And these are the 10 steps after having taken multiple SaaS businesses to product market fit. These are the multiple steps that I think every founder needs to follow. People don't talk about them enough, which is why I wanted to do this webinar. So grab a pen and notebook. This is going to be 30 to 45 minutes of my most impactful strategies. By the way, to the right here is my actual notes for this webinar. This was me sketching it out. I have legal pads everywhere. Even as digital of a person as I am, I'm big on notebooks. I'm big on writing stuff down. I'm clearly big on index cards. So I encourage you to take notes, because the thing is, a lot of this stuff might sound a little obvious, but in the nuances is where like the real impact lies. So be sure to take some notes. So who's ready to dig in? If you're ready to dig in at number 1, hit me with a yes in the chat. Number 1, know the inflection points of your SaaS journey. So here's the thing. A lot of times when you start a SaaS business, no one sat me down and told me, look, these are the different inflection points businesses go through. And you need to be prepared to navigate those inflection points. And in each of those inflection points, it's a new problem of product market fit. Product market fit is not this one and done thing. You always actually are trading in bigger markets and you're trying to get to a bigger fit. So you need to know your inflection points. So in the beginning, the only true real measure of PMF, product market fit, is some level of revenues. That's how I go. So a lot of people were like, well, you know, we have like 1,000 users and they log in every day. I'm like, are they paying? Because until they're paying, you don't know if you have a real business. And by the way, all of my advice is around B2B SaaS. So not B2C SaaS or B2C or market, like B2B SaaS. Until you have some level of revenues, you won't really know if you've got a fit in that stage of the market. So that's kind of the first inflection point that I always look to help founders get to. How do you go from zero to some revenues? I don't care if it's $30. I don't care if it's $100, if it's $1,000. Zero to some revenues is your first inflection point of there's some product market fit there because people are paying for what you have built. After you've got some initial revenues, it becomes a question of a new level of product market fit. You're going to go after a slightly bigger market, right? And it's going to be a big question of, it becomes a question of whether you can consistently bring on new people onto the platform. So you might have gotten 100 people. You might have done a product hunt launch and got 1,000 people to sign up for free and no one paid anything. There's no product market fit. But you might have gotten 10 people paying. Then it's like, okay, can we get 100 people to pay? And that's how you get into this next stage of product market fit, which is after initial revenues. And then it's like, all right, can you get to $1 million ARR? And if you can get to $1 million ARR by building a growth engine, then you've got a new level of product market fit. And there are lots of companies that get to $1 million ARR and then die. That's actually a thing. That means the market's not big enough. So every new inflection point brings on a bigger market for you to go after and a new level of reaching product market fit. So a lot of times people think we just need to hit product market fit and everything's great. The truth is product market fit is a journey. As you keep going up the ladder, you open up bigger markets and you're constantly trying to find a better fit for each of those cases. So ultimately, what it really does come down to, once you get to $1 million and then 3 million and then 10 million, and these are the key inflection points that I work with founders on. Ultimately, it becomes a question of whether the product market fit is in a big enough market, if that market is big enough. That's the ultimate question that you're going to be asking, that investors are going to be asking, to understand, even if you've got a fit, you've got a product that fits a market, is that market big enough? So you're constantly in this journey of trying to go into a bigger market and constantly trying to find product market fit. And these are the different inflection points that you go through. Why do I say this? This is number one, because a lot of people don't explain that this is sort of an asymptotic goal, product market fit. It's not this concrete thing. You don't get like a trophy saying you've hit product market fit. You get trophies if you hit $1 million ARR inside of the Unstoppable program. We give you trophies for this, but you don't get a trophy for product market fit because it's an asymptotic goal, and you have to think about the different inflection points that you go through. So that's step number one. Step number two is know what product market fit means for your business. That's also an important thing for you guys to understand. Know what it means for your business. So I recently did a YouTube episode, and what we were trying to understand was a good thing that Series A investors really try to determine is if you've hit product market fit. So we were doing an episode on like, hey, what does it take to raise a Series A in this market, right? I've had founders that are like, hey, we want to raise a Series A. I'm like, look, I don't think you're going to get a Series A. You should do a seed first, and then you can go do a Series A. So we wanted to do an episode on what it means to actually be Series A ready. And so I haven't raised a Series A since 2014. That was the last time I raised a Series A. So my knowledge was a little bit dated. So I decided to hit up some people that I really respect, some friends, on like, hey, what does Series A mean? Because you guys all look for product market fit, but what does that truly mean? So the first person I hit up was Ben Horowitz. Ben Horowitz is obviously from Andreessen Horowitz. They invested in ToutApp. And so I hit him up and said, hey, Ben, like, can you just give me a one-liner on what it means to be Series A ready, which means that there's product market fit, right? And so Ben didn't disappoint. He hit me back right away. He was like, all right, to be Series A ready, you need to make real progress traveling down the path from a good idea to a great business. He was like, is that okay? I'm like, yep, that's perfect. That's exactly what we need. This is the big thing. we get caught up in the mechanics of product market fit. Ultimately, what it really means is you're trying to show that there's a real business here. That's what really matters. Somewhere along the line, we got confused by Facebook, and because people were like, oh, all you need to do is get a lot of users. But in reality, when it comes to B2B SaaS, a lot of users doesn't necessarily translate into a real business. And so for B2B SaaS investors, Series A investors, really are looking to understand if you have a really great business. So as you're navigating this path to product market fit, what it really means is, do you have glimmers of a real business? That's what you're driving towards. So I also pinged Josh. Josh was at Jackson Square Ventures. They also invested in us. And he got into a little bit more detail. He was like, look, seed is often before product market fit. So a lot of you are seed investor, seed founders. You kind of raise and maybe you have a product, maybe you have some revenues, but it's before product market fit. So what does it really mean? What does product market fit really mean? What does Series A readiness really mean? He dug into this a little bit more. He's like, look, what we want to look at is, what are the unit economics? What's the annual growth rate? And most importantly, net spend retention, meaning if a customer comes on, they spend $1 with you in year one, are they spending $1.20 with you in year two, right? That means like you're actually like retaining the customers, not only retaining them, they're spending more with you. Those are the kind of things, and there's also customer satisfaction he mentioned. Those are the kind of things that what really dictates if you're getting to that product market fit, if you're really getting to that business. Now, it makes me wonder why we don't just say like, oh, do you have a business, versus saying, do you have product market fit? I don't know why people say that. Maybe because it's a little bit fuzzier. It doesn't have to be totally a perfect business. It has to be kind of a good business with lots of promise. That's why we call it product market fit. But make no mistake, what product market fit really means when we say that is that you're getting closer to a real business. And it's all about traveling down the path from a good idea to a great business. It's not necessarily you already have a great business, but you've made enough progress on that path. You guys getting this? So it's super important for you to actually understand, all right, here are the different inflection points I go to, but here's the real metrics I need to hit in the next inflection point. And I highlight this one because for most of you, you're probably seed stage, Series A stage. And really, these are the metrics that you really want to understand and hit so that you actually know what PMF means for your business. Number three, the third thing that I want you to think about is you want to embrace a framework to navigate the path to product market fit. So if you've been a follower on my channel for a while, I call this the Shawshank Crawl. And I wish I actually included a picture of the Shawshank Crawl. How many of you guys know what I mean by the Shawshank Crawl? You guys watch the movie Shawshank Redemption? It's when like this dude that's an accountant, he like goes to jail, he was wrongly accused, and then he like serves time for 20 years and he digs a hole and he like goes through a sewage to actually go escape. And then there's this promised land. That's kind of what product market fit is. It's really hard. It's messy. It's dirty. And it's like, you got to do all kinds of things and it's really tough. And we all know this, but it's still worth it. There's huge riches. Like you get freedom in the end. That's why he did it. That's why it's a Shawshank Crawl. But if you're going to do it, if you're going to go navigate this path, it's a really hard path, but what you need is a framework to actually do it. So this is something that's been shared forever. This is another view of the inflection points that you go through. Like you do your product hunt launch. That was TechCrunch back in the day. Now it's product hunt. And then like, boom, like it spikes up and then nothing. So anytime I talk to a SaaS founder and they're like, yeah, we're launching. I'm like, what are you going to do? It's like, oh, we're going to launch a product hunt. I'm like, cool. Like, but what are you really going to do? That's not a real launch strategy. That's just like, that's what you get here. And then you come back and then they come back and say, oh, we need to go to Market Machine. Like, and then we start working. And then even through this, you go through all these little ups and downs and wiggles of hope. And then you get to the promise line and then finally it starts to happen, right? This is what product market fit looks like for almost everyone, that even the best of us. And so when you're building, when you're going through this journey, and even like when you're building product, for those of you that are technical, I'm a technical person. I taught myself how sales and marketing, right? When you're building your product, you're less likely to just do it on raw PHP, right? We don't do just index.php anymore, although there are some people that claim that they do. You know, we pick on frameworks, right? We like to build using frameworks. So you use a framework, you use best practices, you use scaffolding, and there are other structures that you put into place. You use a testing suite, you use unit tests, you actually have a deployment process, you actually check in code to a repository, you hook into a development framework. The same goes for when you're going through this product market fit, right? The same goes. You need to do the same for your path to product market fit so that you can expect and navigate the ups and downs. Now, if I give you a map of where you're going and the inflection points, which I just did, don't you think you're going to navigate the path better? If you have no idea that after a TechCrunch launch, almost every startup just goes downhill, and then you got to go figure out a real growth engine, don't you think you're going to navigate the path better, right? That's why it's the same reason. Know your inflection points was number one. Understand the key metrics and what PMF really means. Number three is like, look, follow a framework, right? Follow a framework to navigate this path, right? And the way and don't worry, I'm not trying to sell you some crazy complex framework. There isn't one. It's simple. The simple thing is you have to commit to running one big experiment weekly. When you're on the path to building to product market fit, when you're trying to get to this product market fit, when you're trying to get to initial revenues, what you need to just commit to as a team is one big experiment weekly. You need to write down what that experiment is. You need to track what changes you've made. You need to understand what metrics are going to improve. And you need to actually keep testing for that over and over and over and over. And as you keep doing that, you're going to get closer and closer and closer and closer and closer to actually matching what the market needs. You're going to your product's going to match what the market needs, and everyone's going to be happy, right? And the way to do this is you want to run one big experiment weekly. I like to also run 2 to 3 small ones weekly as well, just to keep everyone like moving. And then you will need to get into as many customer sales conversations, whether that's a user signing up for the product, that's in a way a self-service sales conversation, or an actual sales conversation. And that way you're actually closing deals and not just shipping code. So there's no complicated framework. The complicated framework is this. Are you ready? Write this down. One big experiment a week, and keep shipping code and keep shipping code. And as you ship code, get into more sales conversations and try to close deals. That's it. And there's a mantra that all of us founders that are inside of my go-to-market program, all the people that I coach, we follow. I even have t-shirts. I haven't convinced anyone yet to get a tattoo of this, but I'm pretty sure it's going to happen at some point. It's ship code and close deals. That's it. That's your framework. There's only 2 levers that you have as a startup founder, and you need to just operate those 2 levers. You need to have an experiment where you ship code. That's your experiment. You need to close deals. Ship code, close deals. Ship code, close deals. If you get into a sales conversation, we'll talk more about sales conversations in a little bit, and people don't want to buy, that will inform you how close you are to product market fit versus not, whether you're actually missing a feature or you're communicating it the wrong way or it's the wrong market. The market doesn't care what you're doing. These are the only 2 things that matter. And what you need to do is adopt this framework of just launching one big experiment weekly and shipping code and closing deals so that you actually get closer and closer. Are you guys getting this? Okay, so number 1 was inflection points. Just know what the path are. 0 to some revenues to $1 million, $1 million to $3 million, $3 million to $10 million. And each of those inflection points, someone just said, I'll get the tattoo. Cool. I'll get one with you, actually. Know the inflection points. Number 2, know what PMF really means for your business. Get some metrics in place on like what investors look like, big level metrics that you want to be tracking. Number 3, embrace a framework, right? Don't just go at it alone. Don't do just all randomly. Just one big experiment, ship code, close deals, ship code, close deals. Get into that cadence. You get into that cadence, I promise you're going to get closer and closer and closer to product market fit, because you'll be changing the variables one at a time, and you'll keep tweaking, and then you'll eventually get to a match. Number 4, have a strategy. Here's the thing. Every great SaaS business is built on these 5 things, right? There's 3 major components and 2 supporting components. The 3 major components: what market you're going after, what is the core product loop that you're building, and what is your go-to-market? Like, how do you actually go to the market with the product? That's it. And then you have 2 supporting ones. What's your funding and what's your exit? That's it. But here's the thing. And this is a little counterintuitive, but by the way, like, let me just be very clear. Being a founder is hard. I'm going to give you some stuff that says to do this while you do this, and they seem like opposing things. Yes, it's hard, but that's why being a founder is hard, and that's why the riches are so great. So while you're running this one experiment every week, one experiment, ship code, close deals, ship code, close deals, one of the things that happens with founders is they get so deep into that, they get so heads down, they forget the bigger picture. So the other thing I'll also tell you to do is carve out some time while you're running those experiments and doing all that stuff. You know, carve out some time to think about the big picture. How do you think about the big picture? Just think about these 5 components. And maybe you don't need to think about funding right yet or exit right yet, but definitely these 3. All right. And so this is your zoom in, zoom out. This is one of the biggest skills you need to master as a founder as you're navigating the path to product market fit and scaling a business. You need to master the ability to zoom in to the minute details. That's stuff like embracing a framework to run experiments every week, this minute details, and then zooming out and being able to think strategically about the business, the forest, if you will, thinking broadly about here are all the things I have to think about. All right. You have to be able to do both. And I know I'm like supposed to be like that I'm not supposed to be, I refuse to be that guy, but you know, those internet marketing gurus, like, you don't have to do any of this. Just focus on this one thing. That's not true. You got to do all this. Because here's the thing. If it was that easy, then everyone would have a SaaS business that's scaling and everyone would be like just billionaires, right? But it's not. The reason the riches are so great is because it is a complex thing. And my point here is to be honest with you about all the complex things you have to do to get your product market fit and hopefully help you along the way. And therefore, if you are willing to do the hard work, you will get the riches. That's how I think about it. So how do you do this? How do you actually think about the strategy? I have a one-page SaaS strategy worksheet. So if you want a copy of this worksheet, what it does is it asks you the most important questions to answer about your strategy, so you can have like a one-page strategy. If you want a copy of this, just hit me in the chat below, one page, and I'll be sure to get it to you. The other way you can get this is if you go download my 5-point startup strategy guide. In it, I give you a copy of this. So you can go to getunstoppable.com/strategy and you get a copy of this spreadsheet as well. And I'll link to it below in the video so you guys have it. So Eric will make sure you get that. Okay, so let's recap. Number 1, know the inflection points of your SaaS journey. Number 2, know what PMF means for your business. Number 3, embrace a framework. Number 4, have a strategy. So what I'm telling you to do, if you understand, is number 1 and 2 is really about just know what you're getting into. Number 3 is know what you need to do day to day and week to week. One big experiment, ship, cut, close deals. Number 4, don't just get mired in the details. Also zoom out and think about the big picture. All right. So those are the main things. Are you guys with me? If you guys are getting value from this, if you're like, okay, cool, this is helpful, hit me with a value in the chat. Also, it's getting super hot in here. So while you hit me with value in the chat, I'm going to lower the temperature. I'm going to crank the temperature down because it's getting really warm in here. It's probably from all this flailing around. All right, cool. All right, cool. All right, the next one. So if you're doing these 4, you might be wondering like, all right, TK, that seems like a lot. Why is there 5 more or 6 more? Because it's hard, like it takes work. So you could do all 4 of these and still fail unless you do this next thing. You guys want to know what this next thing is? Who wants to know what this next thing is? Also, let me just keep an eye on the YouTube people. All right, we got a bunch of live YouTube people. Okay, hey, YouTube, awesome. Is this working for you guys? I want to make sure this is working for you guys. Yeah, it is working. Cool. Okay, who wants to hear the next one? All right, ready, boom. The next one is what matters the most while you're doing all this is to make sure you increase the number of at-bats. All right, at-bats are the number of experiments that you run. The more experiments that you are able to run, the more likely you are to succeed. Now, how do you actually make sure you can run the maximum number of experiments? You have to manage your runway. So here's what I always tell founders to do. You need to keep your burn low. That's not row. Sorry, keep your burn low. Boom. You need to keep your burn low so you have a long runway. Does that make sense? The lower your monthly burn rate out of your funds available, the more months in runway that you'll have. The more months in runway that you'll have, the more at-bats and experiments that you can take. And the more at-bats and experiments that you can take, the higher number of experiments, with the higher number of runway, the more likely you are to get to find product market fit. Does that make sense? Now, this is 100% obvious, right? And you're like, yep, got it. Keep your burn low. This is easy. This is super easy, right? Then why do so many startups fail? Here's the thing though, but you got to use your judgment. Don't be penny wise, pound foolish. Now, I bet 98% of you do not know what penny wise, pound foolish is. I would not know either. I grew up in Bangladesh until I was 10 years old, and I grew up in the US. And in neither of those places did they use this phrase, but my dad grew up in London, and he always used this phrase. He's like, don't be penny wise, pound foolish. And I was like, what does that even mean? Penny wise, pound foolish is where you're trying to save a penny, you're trying to be frugal, but in doing so, you lose a pound. A pound is a much larger much larger amount in the UK currency system, right? Penny wise, pound foolish means you're trying to save a penny, but while you're trying to do that, you lose $100. So this is where the judgment comes in. And what you need to do, I'm not telling you to just be frugal and don't spend money. What I'm telling you to do is to spend the money with your judgment. You need to make sure you're not being penny wise, pound foolish, but you are deploying the cash so that if you spend $1, you get back $2 or $10 in dividends over time. You are investing the money that you have. and you are investing the money into the things that you think is going to get you closer to product market fit and increase your chances of at bats. So it's super important for you to actually increase the number of at bats and manage the runway while taking calculated bets. So that's super important. So number one, keep your burn low by default. And then two, place bets strategically so it'll increase your chances of getting successful at bats. And then take as many at bats as you can. The more at bats you can take, the more runway that you have, the more successful you're likely to be. Because most companies die because they run out of money. They didn't have enough time to try another experiment. They could have been one experiment away. And you look back to the history of a lot of successful companies, they were like, did some one last Hail Mary pivot, and then they got to success. And that's how it always happens, right? So increase runway. Okay, that takes care of the first 5. Who wants me to keep going and do the next 5? Also, I need an excuse to drink some water while I ask you a question. So hit me with the chat if you're getting value and you want to go to the next one. Okay, cool. Next one. We got a bunch of good stuff. Let's do it. Cool. Okay, so the first 5 was really like understanding what you're signing up for, what you're getting into, embracing a framework, adopting the right mindset, and making sure you're having enough runway, right? That was the first set of things. Now we're getting into the second bucket. The second bucket is, how do you make sure that you navigate this path with the right metrics and you're doing the right activities? So that's what number 6, 7, 8, and 9 is about. And number 10 is really pure mindset. So the big thing that I think about, there's 2 sets of metrics that you want to look at. The first set of metrics you want to look at is what happens once someone gets into your product. The second set of metrics you want to look at are, how do you get people into your product and what do those metrics look like? So first, let's focus on pirate metrics. Pirate metrics is something that I learned from Dave McClure. Dave McClure was an investor at ToutApp, and when he started 500 startups, he taught this. And it brings together a bunch of different core principles, and I love it because it's the one thing that you need to learn. Before I explain to you what pirate metrics are, how many of you already know this? Some of you might know this. Every great business, forget SaaS businesses, every great business has a flywheel. A flywheel is a thing where you give it one push, and the more you do it, the faster it goes. And so every successful business has a flywheel. Every SaaS business is, what makes for a successful SaaS business? More people use it, more people buy, more people tell other people because they love it, and then more people sign up because of that, right? So how do you combine those 2 core ideas? Flywheels make successful businesses, and SaaS businesses are all about retention and referrals, right? That's what happens. When you combine those 2, you get what we call pirate metrics. So what we track as we're navigating this path to product market fit, and I do this for my SaaS businesses, I do this with the founders that I coach, is we always track these key metrics on a week-by-week cohort basis. The first thing that we track is, how many people are you acquiring? How many people are coming into the product? The second thing we track is, how many people are activating? So often people, this is what happens with the product hunt launches. Nothing against product hunt, but a whole bunch of people will sign up, do nothing, and leave and never come back, right? So what you need to understand is, what does activation mean? Within the first 30 seconds that someone's in your product, how do you get them to activate? How do you get them to an aha moment where they're like, oh my God, I need to use this all day long. Let me bookmark it. Let me start the trial. Let me make sure that I connect it to my, whatever thing that I use all the time. Let me get my data flowing in. That's activation. So you want to look at, out of the number of people that sign up per day, what percent of them activate? Once they activate, for that cohort, what percentage of them actually converts to revenue over a certain amount of time? Not only with revenue, how many people actually stay? How many people do you retain? And beyond that, not only how many people do you retain, how many people get so happy that they go refer someone out of your ICP who then come into the acquisition? And therein lies 2 things. 1, the key metrics that you need to track as you're navigating this path to product market fit. And number 2, the flywheel of your business. So the more people you acquire, the more people you activate, the more people that converts to revenue, the more people you retain, the more people will be happy. The more people that are happy, the more people will refer. And the more people that they refer, the more people will acquire, and boom and boom and boom. It goes faster and faster and faster and faster. And that's how you not only get to product market fit, but you get to scalable growth. How do you tie this with the prior principle that I shared? How do you tie this with how do you have at-bats and embrace a framework, right? What you do if you're running one experiment every week, what you do is you come in and you say, you know what, out of the users we acquired, only 1 out of the 100 people we acquired actually activated. So this week, our experiment is going to be about how do we activate users more effectively? How do we get them to their aha moment once they sign up for the product? How do we actually ensure that they get the value of what we're doing? They connect the things. So for Tout App, for example, we did a lot of work around activation. What we learned was if we can get people to install our Chrome plugin so it integrates into their Gmail and send a test email so they see what happens after an email goes out, they would get the aha moment and we would be sticky and they would activate. And not only that, they would convert to revenue and retain. So we actually took a bunch of experiments to get to that answer. And once we did that, that flywheel started to get better and better. So this is how you connect these thoughts. If you're going to run a framework to navigate the path to product market fit, how do you run one big experiment every week? Pick one of these metrics and say, I want to go improve our acquisition. Great. Let's go figure out how we acquire more users. I want to go figure out out of the users we're acquiring, how do we activate them better? Great. Let's go do that. We have a bunch of activated users, but none of them want to pay. Let's go figure that out and figure out the value prop. And that's what connects all of this together. And when you take one at a time and you say, you know what, we're going to conquer this, you conquered it. We're going to conquer this, you conquered it. You conquer this, conquered it. As you tip over each of these things, you're going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. And you get closer to product market fit, you get closer to growth. Now, connecting this to a prior step, this will take time, right? Which is why you need to make sure you have enough runway to go through all of these key metrics and optimize them. The more runway you have, the more time you'll have to optimize each of these. And when you follow a framework, you'll run one experiment every week to improve each of these. And as you run those experiments, you're going to get better and better, and you're going to have the runway, and then you'll be able to scale and raise that Series A from Ben Horowitz. Does that make sense? Are you guys starting to see how these 6 things come together? Let me get a yes if you're starting to get the magic in this before we get into the next one. While I have some water. Okay, cool. Next one, number 7. You guys are awesome. This is a good group. All right, next one. So once you got these pirate metrics going, you may still be wondering, like, all right, do we actually have a business here, right? Right? How do you know that you've got a business? You may have people like activating, and maybe sometimes converting to revenue, but how do you really know that you're getting closer to product market fit? Oh, I got to reload. Okay, let me see. Don't you hate it when this happens? Boom, not yet. Okay, I guess I have to reload this presentation. 1 second. By the way, if you have any questions around this, feel free to ask. Present. All right, this one's being a little annoying. So let's just I'll show it over here. Okay, so measuring product market fit, essentially the biggest measure of this is, are the people paying money, right? Like, these experiments will help you figure out what's going on, but ultimately what you really are trying to understand is, are people paying money? Oh, now I understand what happened here. That's okay. So there's this one thing that, aside from that, there's this one other thing that you guys can do, which is the 40% experiment. And Sean Ellis made this super popular. Let me load it up because I had a thing on this, but it went away. So I'm going to try and get it back. Here we go. You guys get to see how this is coming together. Okay, boom. Hopefully this works. Okay, cool. So measuring product market fit, the best way is money. The other way to do it is actually to survey your users. And Sean Ellis came up with this. Rahul Vora of Superhuman really popularized this. The way to determine if you have product market fit is by simply asking your users the following question. And you want to ask this every month. How would you feel if you could no longer use this product? And it's a multiple choice question. And you ask, either they'll be very disappointed, someone disappointed, not disappointed, and not applicable, I already stopped using it, right? And the idea is you want to survey your users. You want to slice and dice them based on different titles, different job roles, different seniority, different geos. What you want to understand is which group of people would be very disappointed. Because here's the thing. If they're somewhat disappointed or not disappointed, they're going to churn. And great SaaS businesses are all about net revenue retention, right? You want to have people that sign up and then spend more over time. So you want to make sure that at least 40% or more say that they would be very disappointed. And this is something that as you're running your experiments on a weekly basis, as you are optimizing your pirate metrics, you want to keep running and you're hopefully collecting revenue. You also want to run this survey because it'll help you really understand how many people are just raw, rabid supporters that like this is a must have for their jobs. Sorry, that was a little messy there, but to recap, you're going to have your pirate metrics that you run every week, right? And run one big experiment. And you're also going to survey your users. Sean Ellis popularized this, invented this, and Rahul Vora popularized this. You want to survey them with 40%. And if you want to learn more about this kind of survey, just give a search for Sean Ellis 40%, and you'll learn more about it. We'll probably do a video on this at some point. Okay, so number 1, 2, 3, and 4 was all about how to like just establish the right framework around navigating product market fit, knowing what you're in for, what the inflection points are. Then it was all about, hey, let's make sure you have enough runway to maximize the number of experiments. Then you want to actually make sure you're running experiments and looking at the metrics. That's your pirate metrics and your survey metrics. Number 8 is you got to have sales conversations. So I got to be honest with you. There's something I don't believe in. I don't believe in customer discovery. It breaks my heart when founders are just like, a year into their product and they're still doing customer discovery and they're not getting into sales conversations. Because here's the truth. The truth is, if you're really building something that has true market demand, people are going to be dying to buy. But if you go to them and you say like, hey, what happens if there was like a flying plane, but it was also a car and it had like these rocket boosters and then you could teleport? Everyone will be like, yeah, that sounds awesome, because they have no skin in the game. Not until you ask them for their credit card will you really truly know if what you are selling is they're actually going to buy. Not until you actually get to a point where you can be like, okay, you got to pay for this. And that's when you'll really know if what you're building is of value, right? Even with the 40% thing, people might lie. People lie. People always lie. And so they might say very disappointed, but until they have to put their credit card down, you will never really know. So many times in my career, people have said things to me in my face, but until I saw them sign, until I saw them put it in writing, until I saw their actions, until they put down their credit card, I didn't believe them. And that has saved me a lot of money in my career. And that has helped me understand the true character of people. And so until you get into sales conversations instead of customer discovery conversations, you're not really going to know. How do I know this? The way I know this is the mortality rate. And if for those of you that have followed me for a while, you might know this. The mortality rate of seed stage companies is incredibly high, right? Only 4% of startups that have raised a seed round will graduate to a Series A. And this data is from 2017. There's way more seed funding going on right now than in 2017, which means the mortality rate is going to be even higher. On top of that, the bar for a Series A is higher than ever. And we talked about this in an earlier step. 70% of startups getting funded for a Series A are already generating consistent revenues. So it's super important for you to get into sales conversations, because that's how you'll be generating consistent revenues, and you'll actually escape this trap that a lot of these seed stage companies get into, because they're not really going into sales conversations. They're going into customer discovery, and people are lying to them. Here's one more thing to look at. CB Insights did an analysis on 101 startup postmortems, right? And when they look at it, these are the top reasons that startups cited as the cause of their death. No market need, okay, no product market fit. But look at these other ones. They ran out of cash. We talked about runway. Not the right team. Like that, I don't want to touch that one. That was a hard one. It's a different thing. Getting out competed, pricing, user unfriendly product without a business model, poor marketing, ignore customers. A lot of these, in fact, the ones I've highlighted, all connect to not your market, not your product, but your go-to-market, right? They under-indexed on go-to-market. They kept building one more feature, one more feature, one more feature. They were afraid to get into customer sales conversations. They were afraid to call up the people that should be buying this to really understand if there's a need. And instead, they kept building and building and building and building and building. And then they died. They died because they couldn't actually get into a sales conversation. And that's what's super important. So you got to get into sales conversations as you're doing all of these things. Building, and one of the biggest things that I was guilty of this. Prior to ToutApp, I was working with other startups, and I was building another startup, and I built that for nearly a year and a half. and it went nowhere. And it was because I was afraid to get into sales conversations. And on top of that, I was stuck in the one more feature trap. And so many of us get stuck in the one more feature trap. That's when you think that you're just one feature away from just amazing market domination. In reality, it's never the case. What it really is that you're not building out your go-to-market machine. The number 9, charge money. Okay, so let's go to charge money. If you look at some of these postmortems, it ran out of cash and pricing cost issues. Here's the other thing. If you don't charge up front, you're missing an important variable in the equation, because a lot of people are willing to use a lot of things for free. And the number of things that are available for free in the market is actually quite high. And a lot of times people don't even have the money to spend. So a lot of times what you end up doing is selling to broke people with no budget and not enough of a need to pay for something, but they'll use your free tool, which is why it's super important, even in the extreme early days, to charge money for what you're doing. For the founders that I coach, I tell them, like, look, I don't care if it's $1,000 to do a pilot, charge $1,000 so that they have skin in the game, so that they pay attention. So you can start to understand they have budget for this. So as you're doing all of this, try to get away from free and try to charge money, charge a premium, charge $30 a month. I dare you to charge $30 a month and meet that value. One of the things we did at ToutUp, we charged $30 a month for our email product. And our goal, we barely had anything when we started charging $30 a month. You couldn't even bold a text in the email editor. However, we told ourselves we're going to charge $30. We're going to acquire customers at $30. And then we're going to force ourselves to beef up the product so we're providing more than $30 worth of value. And that allowed us to ensure that we stay focused on a market, salespeople, that had budget and had an important need and needed our product. And we kept improving the product. And by the time we sold a company, we were charging $125 per seat. That's how much we were charging. So charge money early on. It will help you make all these other things that you're doing in terms of your pirate metrics, in terms of the core strategy and the market you're focusing on, in terms of navigating these inflection points will become easier if you charge money, because you know you're focusing on a market that can afford product, that has budget, and has an urgent, important need, right? Okay, cool. Now, before I get into this last one, let me just make sure you guys are still with me. Any questions? If you have questions around any of these steps, I want you to put it in the chat so that I know that I'll get to that. Let me check in on our YouTube friends. Make sure everyone's okay there. YouTube looking good. Okay, cool. Who's ready for step number 10? Hit me with a yes, and then we'll start to wrap. So I gave you, a lot of, okay, so I like that question. I'm going to get to that, Arun. So I gave you sort of like some of these brass tacks, right? Like 1, 2, and 3 was about know what you're signing up for. Number 3 is establish a framework. Then it's like, don't get stuck in the details. Make sure you think about the strategy. Then it's like, listen, you need to make as many experiments as you can. So manage your runway. And then it's like, here's the exact metrics to look at. And then 8 and 9 was like, look, sales, marketing, charge money. Don't ignore that part. Here's the last one. This last one is probably the most important, okay? This is hard. What I'm telling you to do is hard. Getting to product market fit is hard. Anyone that tells you, hey, I got this easy solution for you to do this, just like pay me $1,000, is lying, or more importantly, has never done it. So here's the one last thing that I'll give you, because I've been through these ups and downs, and I go through them now with the founders that I coach, the Shawshank Crawl to product market fit. The number 10 thing to think about is I will do this until I figure this out, right? I will do this until I figure this out. So there's 100%. These are the ways that you can fail 100% of the time. Number 1, you give up. Along this way, you say, you know what? I can't do it. I give up. I'm just going to get a job. That's a sure way to fail. Number 2 is you keep trying to find shortcuts. You don't do the work. You don't do the metrics. You don't do the experiments. You don't follow the framework. You don't get into customer conversations and sales conversations. You keep kicking the can, and then you run out of runway, and then you have to go shut down and go get a job. Those are all 3 ways to fail, right? And I don't tell you this to be discouraging. I'm not that kind of guy. Here's the problem. The problem is we don't have clear role models for doing the hard work. Because when we think about the most successful people, they are on their victory lap. So, and they don't talk about the really hard times, right? The thing that I tell my founders that I work with and I tell everyone in this community is do not replicate the best when they are taking the victory lap. Replicate what they did before they became the best. Who are your heroes? My heroes are these guys, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk. I want to be them. That's who I want to be. So go find a picture of them working really hard when they first started out and make it your wallpaper or add it to your favorite album. We all know there is no shortcut to success, but I find this to be a beautiful reminder of what the art of the start looked like, even for our heroes. So the things that I've asked you to do, they're not easy. They're not impossible. They're hard, but recognize that anyone that you think is incredibly successful today at one point did the work. These are guys working hard at work. You won't find a single picture of any of these guys looking like this today. So it messes with our heads. We want to be them, and so we want to emulate them, but they're at a different stage. They're on their victory lap. So find the pictures of the people you want to become, the people that are your heroes when they were sitting there hustling and working hard, and not billionaires, but they were building their empires. That's what you're doing, and get into that mindset. Are you guys getting this? Does this make sense? And feel free to take a screenshot of this. You can also follow me on Instagram. I have this picture in there. It was a really popular post, so I decided to put it in here for you guys. And so ultimately, as you're navigating this path, here's how these steps come together. And I will get to your questions after this. The way these come together is you want to approach this from a matter of iterations. And I'm a big fan of the Japanese concept of Kaizen. Kaizen is all about continuous improvement. And that's what I'm really teaching you here. Every week, you're running one big experiment, maybe 2 to 3 small ones. You want to identify the problems. How do you identify the problems? Look at your pirate metrics and figure out where the bottleneck is. If you don't have enough users, focus on your go-to-market machine. If you have enough users, figure out how to activate them better. If you're activating them but they're not paying, figure out how to get into more sales conversations. If they're paying but they're not sticking around, figure out how to retain them and figure out how to improve the product. Identify the problems, analyze what's going on, create solutions, test them, measure them, and then standardize them. Keep going and going and going, and that's how you navigate the path. And at any given moment, you got to do one of two things. You're either shipping code or closing deals. Ship code, close deals. Those are the two levers that you have as a startup founder. And the mantra that I take on, here's another thing. If you get a tattoo of ship code, close deals, the other thing to take on is I will do this until I figure this out. This is the thing that I write out in all my notebooks as I'm figuring out new businesses, as I'm coaching founders. We will do this until we figure this out. I have founders that haven't quite hit it yet, and I will keep chasing them down. I'll be like, yo, dude, let's go talk. Let's go figure this out. We will do this until we figure this out. The only way to fail is if you just give up, right? The only way to fail is if you keep trying shortcuts instead of doing the work, or if you run on a runway. Otherwise, be like these guys and actually embrace this mantra of Kaizen, keep iterating, shipping code, closing deals, and you'll do this until you figure this out, right? So let's get into the questions. There were a couple of questions here, and if you have more questions, post them in there, and then I'll get to them, and then we'll start to wrap. You guys are awesome. What is a big or a small experiment? Any examples? I think it really depends on your product, Arun. But what I would say is a big experiment is something that you like changing a website headline or changing how you acquire customers and trying a whole different message, or changing your ICP, or changing your onboarding process, or how you activate them. Those are big things. Small things are changing the color of a button, or changing copy on a website that's already doing fine and you want to run an A/B test to see if it improves. That's how I think about big things or small things. Big are like strategic things that you're really trying to hone in on. My market strategy, my product strategy, my go-to-market strategy. Those are big things that you're running experiments on. And a lot of times you may run the same experiment for multiple weeks and keep tweaking it little by little to make it better and better. And other times you're making big changes because nothing's working. So that's how I would differentiate between big or small. Hopefully that's helpful. Manoj asks, any recommendations for how long should your seed round last? 3 years. Generally speaking, it takes 3 years to really know if you've got product market fit. No one will tell you that. And sometimes it's impossible to make it last 3 years. So you'll see a lot of people do a seed and a seed plus or seed extension. But generally speaking, if like in a perfect world, if I'm trying to make sure I have enough runway to get to product market fit and revenues so I can go raise my next round of funding, I would try to give myself 3 years. That's how long it takes through the twists and turns. Can it be faster? Yes. If you're going after a very well-defined market and it's like there's one or two players and you want to differentiate and you know how to differentiate, it might take less time. You can go a lot faster. If you're a second or third time founder, you might be able to do it faster. If you are a founder and you have a coach that's done it before, you might be able to do it faster. But if you're going at it alone, 3 years or more is what I would say, plus like the standard mortality rate. Hopefully that helps, Manoj. That also pertains to tactics of other companies who look, okay, got it. Okay, next one. Hold on. I want to make sure. By the way, keep the questions coming. I want to make sure I get to all of your questions and then we'll start to wrap. What's your opinion on pre-selling? How would you go about it? My opinion on pre-selling is you should definitely pre-sell. Try to sell it as a pilot or try to sell it as a POC, a proof of concept. Try to sell it as like, hey, we'll give you white glove service or we'll give you a deep discount. Try to make it where there's no risk to them. Like, hey, look, if it doesn't work in 3 months, we'll give you your money back. But I'm a big believer in it because it gets more skin in the game and people tell you the truth when they've paid you versus doing customer discovery. So hopefully that helps, Kiara. Another question. I have an iPhone app, 500 plus users, wondering, suggesting getting users feedback, emails, no or low answers. What I would say, and Matthew, I don't know what your iPhone app is or does, who the ICP is, but one thing I would do is I would get you to go in, try to do an in-app message, like inside the app, do a pop-up and offer them like, hey, if you're willing to get on a call with us, we'll help you onboard you, or we'll give you a $25 gift card. If you're trying to like talk to a whole bunch of users that you normally don't get access to, that's how I would do it. I'd do a pop-up inside of the app and incentivize them to book a time with you and have like a Calendly or something so they can pick a time. That's how I would do it. You could also do emails. Emails, like people get busy, but when they're in the app and they're not trying to do a critical function, if you pop them up and you incentivize them, you could probably get a good number of people. Out of the 500, I bet you'll get at least 20 to 50 if you offer a $25 gift card. If you don't offer a gift card, but you just say, hey, if you do an onboarding, we'll give you the product for free for 3 months, I bet you'll get 20 users or so. So that's what I would do. I would incentivize them to do an in-app pop-up. Okay, cool. So let's start to wrap. I have a couple of thoughts that I want to show and then we'll close out. Listen, so here are the 10 steps and I will make the recording available. It'll be here on YouTube. Know the inflection points of your SaaS journey. Know what you're getting into. Know what product market fit really means. Remember that Ben Horowitz and Josh, what they said about what they look for Series A readiness. That's when they're trying to predict product market fit. Embrace a framework to navigate the path to product market fit. One big experiment every week. Embrace ship code, close deals. That's the framework that I use. Have a strategy. Don't just get mired in the details. Zoom out. Go down with my startup strategy guide. I'll link to it below. Figure out your strategy across market, product, and go-to-market. Also, increase the runway so you have as many at-bats as possible, but don't be penny wise and pound foolish. Is that a tough thing to do? Yes. Welcome to being a startup founder. But once you figure it out, there's lots of riches to be had, right? Use pirate metrics to really understand how your product is doing and how to get the flywheel going of your SaaS business. Do the 40% survey. That's super powerful. Stop doing customer discovery, go do sales conversations. Seriously, sales conversations, people tell the truth. Customer discovery, people are lying to you. Number 9, charge money. Charge money as early as possible, charge as high as possible, and then you can always lower prices if you need to, or just raise prices. And then number 10, adopt the mindset. Go find a picture of your hero when they were hustling, when they were trying to get things off the ground. Put that as your wallpaper. Remember what they look like when they were at your stage, not when they're taking the victory lap, right? And adopt this mindset of I will do this until I figure this out. So these are the inflection points that you have in terms of your SaaS business. You're going from 0 to some revenues to $1 million, where you're really trying to build that go-to-market engine. $1 million to $3 million. That's when you're really trying to scale the go-to-market engine. And $3 million, $10 million, when you're trying to double down on your one growth engine, right? So as I mentioned, I am a SaaS coach. We have programs where we work with you to build out and help you accelerate your growth. So if you're interested in working with me, I'll give you a couple of slides so you have those details. The main thing that I run is my SaaS go-to-market program. And that gets you from some revenues to $1 million ARR. And if you're like just at that point where you have some revenues, even if it's $1, we help you build that go-to-market machine so you can get to $1 million ARR. And then once you get past $1 million, we have our growth program where we help you get to 10 million. And we also do M&A services around that as well. So if you join my go-to-market program, we focus on 3 things. Number 1, we help you hone in on your market strategy. Number 2, we'll help you hone in on your strategic narrative and your value proposition. And number 3, we help you run your sales and marketing funnel so you can get more users. So when you actually go through this program, the big thing, if there's one big thing we really work with you on, is how to actually craft your manifesto. Manifesto is how you explain what you guys do to your customers, to your investors. So we'll help you hone in on your ICP. We'll help you build your manifesto. Then we'll run your Broadway show. When you do this, a couple of things really come together. Number 1, you get a clear strategic narrative. So you can explain what you guys do to yourself, your team, your board. Your website messaging becomes focused and clear. A lot of times I'll work with founders and like I'll get on a Zoom call because they want to join the go-to-market program. I'm like, oh, I'm on your website. And immediately they'll say like, oh, we're changing the website. They're constantly changing websites. Why? Because they don't have a clear strategic narrative yet. So we help you do that. Your investment pitch deck becomes easier. And you can also run a sales and marketing funnel, your Broadway show. So you get more users, you go into more sales conversations, you get closer to product market fit. So it all comes together. Here's what you get inside the go-to-market program. You get the training and the blueprint. So everything you need to actually build your unstoppable sales funnel. Number 2, I host a group CEO call every Wednesday. Every Wednesday, a bunch of SaaS CEOs that work with me, we get on a call, we do hot seats, we tweak each other's strategic narratives. I help you actually coach you through the whole process. And then you also get access to my insider platform. We can connect with other CEOs. You get to connect with me, ask questions, and I help you through the whole process of building your go-to-market machine. We do hot seats and advisory calls to support you. What's a hot seat? That's when you come on in our group mastermind call. We can do a generic question. We can do a market strategy review, a manifesto review, a funnel review, or a pitch deck review. We do any one of these things. Or we do one-on-one sessions. You get about 4 one-on-one sessions with me, 90-minute sessions. They're like board meetings, strategy sessions. We go really deep on those as well. Now, this is not perfect for everyone. The better the fit, the better the results. I already did the venture-backed business. I sold it. I did the bootstrap business. I sold it. I did the PE business. I worked at a PE business. We sold it. This is my legacy business. I love working with SaaS founders. And so I don't want just any client. I want the right people. I want the right people that will add value to our Wednesday calls. So if you want to work with me in navigating the path to product market fit, building a go-to-market machine, getting the right metrics right, if you want to actually work with me to get to that next stage, I encourage you to join, apply to join. The way this works is you fill out a quick form and book a time with me. I'll ask you a few questions. You'll actually get on a call with me. I'll ask you a few questions about your business to understand if you're a good fit. If you're a good fit, then you can join the program. So we do a qualification call. So if you want to join the go-to-market program, you want to accelerate your path to the next stage of growth, go to tkkader.com/apply. And when you go there, you'll get a bunch of details on that, on the program, and we can hop on a call. All right, cool. So those are the 10 steps that I had. I wanted to make sure I cover the details around my go-to-market program. Are there any questions I can answer for you guys, either in terms of SaaS businesses, your specific scenario, or the go-to-market program? Any one of those, I can answer any questions that you have. One question was, am I in a SaaS business? If you don't know if you're in a SaaS business or not, you're probably not in a SaaS business. Arun, is there an objective metric or a set of values to use to defend that we have reached product market fit to an investor? Yes, Arun, that's a great question. The biggest, and Josh had this. So product market fit is a leading indicator that you have a great business. So the big thing, let me kind of show this slide again. Oh, this is not being very cooperative. Okay, that's fine. Let me go back here. So what are the leading indicators? Like, the biggest thing is revenue. If you have revenue, that's a great indicator. If you don't have revenue, then it's going to be really tough for a Series A investor, because they're going to be like, well, are these people going to monetize or not? So you have to paint a really strong story. If you do have revenue, not all revenue is created equal. So people will want to understand if you have a consistent set of revenue. Are you selling the same use case to the same type of customer? And can you do more of that if you were to raise more money? So people will look at that. And the other big thing that people will look at is churn. Do people stick around? Because SaaS business is the biggest killer of a SaaS business is churn. So you want to figure that out as well. So those are 3 things, Arun, that I would look at thinking about in terms of metrics. Cool. We are over our time. I'm probably late for a meeting. I want to thank you guys for joining. Hopefully you got value. If you did get value, please smash that like button on YouTube. If this is your first video that you saw on YouTube, I drop a video like this every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I also do lives like this for in-depth topics. So be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. And also, if you're a SaaS founder navigating the path to at least 3 million ARR, join my go-to-market program. Go to tkkader.com/apply. So that we can hop on a call and we can talk more and see if we're a good fit for the program. I want to thank you all for joining. I love you guys. Seriously, I always look forward to moments when we can all hang out and talk about SaaS. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you either in the next episode or the next live webinar. Thank you. Have a great day.